Well, I mean, to some degree, what everything's heading towards. With all these guys on death row, it's heading towards the electric chair, which is a handful of crazy scenes. But I was as I was watching it, one of the things I was thinking of asking you of like, I've just realized I don't know what's going on when they hook somebody up to an electric chair. I understand the concept of it, right? There's electricity going into their body. But like, is this the thing at like the science museums where I can like touch that ball and it will like zap me or like what's I
What's
would imagine
happening?
it's
Yeah,
not that, but what's actually going on medically in an
right.
electric chair execution?
Yeah, that is a good question. So, um, I actually had to go and dig into this a little bit, just because we don't talk a lot about electrocution and things like that. It's
Yeah.
very there is a number of these that happen a year, like electrical injuries, but that's mostly emergency medicine that's going to be dealing with that. Um, so I don't often come across it, but the electric chair, there's a lot of interesting things about it. So actually, the word electrocution was developed in response to the electric chair. So it stands for electrical execution.
Mm,
So electrocution. Um,
no
I
idea.
know.
Never heard of that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that was sort of when electricity was becoming more commercially available. So there wasn't really a word for getting zapped. And so
Uh,
even though that term was made specifically referring to execution, it became kind of the common way of describing getting shocked uh, for all reasons. So whether it was an execution or not. So that when we say you get electrocuted, obviously we're not executing you, but that's where it came from and why we say that.
yeah. So
But
like
with
every
the
time
electric
I
chair,
touch my cat's nose and it shocks me, I'm being electrocuted by my cat.
yes,
Basically, got it.
electrical execution.
Yeah, the cat's like, "Take my nose, boss."
So, yeah, what happens? So the electric chair was invented by a dentist. So, tell me you don't like working with people without telling me you don't like working with people.
Well, now I know everybody's afraid of going to the dentist.
Anyway, so what they do is they put an electrode on your head, and they put your feet on kind of the ground, so to speak. But so the electricity goes from your head through to your feet. Um, and it hits you with two big shocks. So the first shock, they believe, basically induces immediate unconsciousness, and then is intended to kind of stop your heart. Or they really puts it into what's called VFib, where it just kind of jiggles and it doesn't have a coordinated squeeze. So that's the first shock, and then the second shock is a lower voltage, and it's intended to damage the rest of the vital organs. So, kind of two main shocks that sort of oscillate. Um, and they really do use a sponge with salt water. They use a natural sea sponge to do that. They've There was a sort of botched execution where people used a kitchen sponge instead, and it did not go good. Um, but what happens in the Green Mile to Dell uh, can and has actually happened to people. So the reason
Uh,
for the salt water is so skin has a really high resistance to electricity, and muscle has a pretty high resistance as well. And so if electricity is trying to go through the skin, it's going to heat up like a filament in a light bulb. And it can catch fire and ignite. So the salt water changes the conductive capacity of the skin, and also will transmit electricity around. So it makes it easier for electricity to go through without lighting you on fire, essentially. So that's why they use the salt water. So when you don't put the salt water, you get what happened to Dell, and that
mm,
can actually happen. So
mm.
that was as far as science realism points, they got that right.